Here's a rewritten version with a stronger narrative flow, more emotion, and a polished storytelling style suitable for YouTube, TikTok, or faceless narration channels. I still remember the exact moment my marriage ended. My wife looked across the dinner table, the same table we had spent hours choosing together when we bought our first home, and calmly said, "I'm leaving. I'm moving in with Anthony." Then she added the words that shattered everything. "We're having a baby." For a second, I thought I had misheard her. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain refused to accept what she had just said. I waited for her to smile, to tell me it was some horrible joke. She never did. Her expression remained cold, detached, almost rehearsed. In that moment, the woman I had loved for years felt like a complete stranger. The room went silent. My mind raced through every memory we had built together, the vacations, the late-night conversations, the promises we made. All of it suddenly felt fragile, like it had never meant anything to her at all. My first question wasn't, why? It was, when? When had she decided our marriage no longer mattered? When had Anthony, her coworker and supposedly trusted friend, become more important than the man who had stood beside her through every challenge life had thrown at us? She didn't hesitate. She admitted the affair had been going on for months. Months. She said she was tired of pretending. Tired of living a life she no longer wanted. Every word hit like a hammer. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted answers. Part of me wanted to walk out and never look back. But instead, I stayed perfectly calm. And that seemed to bother her. She expected tears. She expected anger. She expected me to fight for her. Instead, I simply sat there and listened. Then I asked one question. "You really thought I wouldn't find out?" For the first time that evening, her confidence cracked. I saw it immediately. Fear. Because the truth was, I already knew. I had known for weeks. The late nights. The secretive texts. The sudden obsession with her appearance. The phone that never left her hand. The signs were everywhere. At first, I ignored them because I didn't want to believe what they meant. Then one day, I followed her. And there it was. Anthony's apartment. Everything I feared became reality. From that moment on, I stopped hoping I was wrong and started preparing for what came next. Knowing the truth didn't make the betrayal hurt any less. But it gave me time. Time to think. Time to plan. Time to protect myself. Meanwhile, she continued building her fantasy life. That night, she tried to justify everything. She said Anthony made her feel alive. That he gave her attention and excitement. That our marriage had lost its spark. I listened quietly. Not because I agreed. But because I was remembering all the sacrifices I had made for us. The extra shifts. The long hours. The dreams I postponed. The countless times I put our future ahead of my own comfort. I wasn't perfect. No husband is. But I had been loyal. Apparently, loyalty wasn't enough. Finally, she looked at me and asked. "Well? Aren't you going to say something?" I leaned back in my chair and met her eyes. Then I said the one thing she never expected to hear. "Good luck." She frowned. I continued. "Because while you've been building a life with Anthony, I've been talking to a lawyer." The color drained from her face. Instantly. The confidence disappeared. The smug certainty vanished. And for the first time all night, she looked scared. I explained that I had documented everything. The affair. The evidence. The timeline. The divorce paperwork was already in progress. There would be no dramatic fight. No desperate attempt to save the marriage. No second chances. It was over. Just like that. The tears came almost immediately. But they weren't tears of guilt. They weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of fear. Fear of losing the stability she had taken for granted. Fear of facing the consequences of her choices. Fear that Anthony might not be the hero she imagined once real life started demanding rent, bills, responsibility, and commitment. She begged me to reconsider. She asked me to talk. To think about everything we had built together. But I simply shook my head. You already made your choice, I said. Now you have to live with it. A few weeks later, she moved into Anthony's apartment. I signed the divorce papers with a steady hand. Surprisingly, I didn't feel broken. I felt relieved. The uncertainty was gone. The lies were gone. The constant suspicion was gone. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Life slowly began to change. I reconnected with old friends. I picked up hobbies I had abandoned years earlier. I focused on myself instead of trying to fix someone who had already checked out of the relationship. Then, months later, I heard the rumors. Things weren't going well between her and Anthony. Reality had arrived. The excitement of the affair had faded. Pregnancy, bills, responsibilities, and everyday life were proving far less romantic than they had imagined. Apparently, Anthony wasn't as committed as he'd promised. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. It's easy to play the hero in secret. It's much harder when real life enters the picture. But I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel vindicated. What I felt was closure. She made her decision. I made mine. And for the first time in a long time, I was finally free. Looking back now, I realize something important. Strength isn't always about fighting to keep someone in your life. Sometimes strength is knowing when to let them go. That calm response I gave her on the worst night of my life didn't just shock her. It saved me. Because in the end, I didn't lose everything. She did. This version is optimized for audience retention, emotional pacing, and dramatic storytelling while keeping the original message intact.